Today, we are diving into something truly fascinating. How a relationship between someone who's anxious and someone who's secure can be this incredible force for healing. We're going to call them the seeker and the anchor. And trust me, this dynamic can literally change the way someone sees the world and experiences love.
I mean, it's a huge question, right? Can one person's love really, truly rewire our deepest, oldest fears? Well, the evidence we're looking at today says, yeah, it absolutely can. So let's unpack exactly how that amazing transformation happens.
All right, so let's meet our two main players here. On one side, we've got the seeker, who has an anxious attachment style. You can think of their internal alarm system as being cranked up to 11, constantly scanning the horizon for any hint of abandonment. Then, on the other side, you have the anchor, who is securely attached. They have this amazing ability to provide what's called a buffering effect. They're like a human shock absorber. They can take in their partner's distress and help soothe it without getting totally knocked off balance themselves.
Okay, so to really understand the seeker, we have to look at where all this anxiety comes from, because it's not really about this relationship. It's a ghost from a long, long time ago.
What is it that creates this constant, gnawing need for reassurance? Why does something as small as a partner's brief silence feel like a total catastrophe? Well, the root cause is actually surprisingly simple, but it is incredibly powerful. Inconsistent care. That's it. Those two words are the core wound. It's that unpredictable mix of warmth one minute and neglect the next during childhood that really shapes a lifetime of relationship anxiety. And this dynamic is so key. Because the caregiver's attention wasn't a sure thing, the child learns very early on that they have to turn up the volume on their needs. Cry louder, cling tighter, just to be seen. And that becomes their default strategy for getting connection, even as an adult.
This kind of upbringing creates this really painful split in how they see the world. They end up with this negative view of themselves, deep down feeling unworthy, while at the same time seeing other people as their only possible source of safety and security. This imbalance is the engine that just drives that constant nagging fear of being abandoned.
So that's the backstory. Now let's bring it into the present day. We're about to see how these old patterns play out when the seeker finally meets the anchor, and how that incredible dynamic can start to transform a feeling of danger into a feeling of safety. So when a seeker's fear gets triggered, they often fall back on what we call protest behaviors. Now, it is so important to understand this isn't manipulation. It's a desperate, almost panicked attempt to get a response, to know that the connection is still there. It's literally that childhood strategy of turning up the volume playing out in a grown-up relationship. But here, this is where everything changes. Instead of pulling away or getting angry at the protest, the anchor leans in. They have what's called pragmatic empathy. They see right past the behavior to the fear underneath. And this kind of calm, validating response, it is completely new territory for the seeker. It is a total game changer.
And this is the most crucial part. Every single time the anchor responds with that calm reassurance, it provides what's called a corrective emotional experience. It slowly, piece by piece, retrains the seeker's nervous system. It teaches it that the danger signal doesn't need to be blaring on high alert all the time.
So how does this transformation from anxious to secure actually happen? I mean, it's not just magic or wishful thinking, it is a structured process. The source material lays out this really clear three-pillar framework for making this journey. These are the three pillars that build what's known as earned secure attachment. And what that means is you weren't given that security blanket in childhood, but you have built it for yourself as an adult. Let's break down what each of these really means.
Okay, so the first pillar is all about building an inner sense of safety. Through some really specific exercises, a person can visualize an ideal parent figure, that consistently comforting, protective presence they might not have had. Now, this isn't about replacing your actual parents, it's about installing an internal source of comfort so you're not 100% dependent on your partner for it.
Pillar 2 is about becoming a detective of your own mind. It's learning to hit the pause button when you have a thought like, they hate me because they didn't text back, and instead ask, okay, hang on, where is this coming from? Is this feeling from my past or is it based on the reality of right now? You learn to observe your thoughts instead of just being swept away by them.
And the third pillar is where the rubber really meets the road in the relationship. Instead of falling back on those old protest behaviors, the seeker learns to just communicate their needs directly. They learn how to say, hey, I'm feeling a little insecure right now, and some reassurance would mean a lot.
instead of starting a fight to get that same reassurance. It's all about being vulnerable and clear.
And this brings us to the ultimate goal of this whole journey. The anchor partner is an absolutely crucial guide for sure, but the final destination is for the seeker to find that secure base deep inside themselves.
And here it is, the ultimate goal. The transformation is really complete when you can generate your own sense of felt safety. The anchor partner helps you build the house, but eventually you learn how to be the builder. You learn to repair your own sense of security and to know, deep in your bones, that you are okay, even when you're alone.
As this healing starts to happen, researchers have noticed that a set of really powerful qualities, sometimes called the 8 C's, begin to emerge. You start to feel more compassion for yourself, more curiosity about your own reactions, and this core sense of calm and confidence. This is what an integrated, whole self really feels like.
And this, I think, is the most hopeful message in all of this. This entire journey shows us that, yeah, our early experiences create a blueprint, but they do not have to be a life sentence. With the right experiences and the right tools, we can draw a brand new map for our lives and our relationships.
So let's leave it with this question. Just thinking about everything we've talked about, whether you see yourself as more of a seeker, an anchor, or maybe somewhere in between, what is one small way you can show up more authentically today, without the mask of old fears or protest behaviors? Because it's in those small moments that the real transformation begins.
Hi, I'm John, and this is I Will Heal. Our curriculum features something for everyone. We know that your pathway to attachment transformation is specific to your parent. Whether you're an FA with a BA partner or an APA recently discarded by a BA, we have you covered. Say for a while, and we hope you'll say, even if for the first time, I will